How do you define that the individual or a company is now carbon neutral?
Okay, so there are different CO2 neutrality scopes. So scope 1 calculation, scope 2 calculation, scope 3 calculation. Now in scope 1 and scope 2 calculation, which is currently is more prevalent, when an industry like Microsoft or Google says that by 2035 or by 2040 or by 2030 will become CO2 neutral, they are currently focusing on scope 1 and scope 2. Now scope 1 and scope 2 basically mean that I will be making my premise CO2 neutral. I would not really worry about where my materials are coming from, whether all those materials, see for example, as I was telling you, the brush example I gave, the production of the brush emits a lot of CO2, which is called embodied carbon dioxide. As soon as we get this mug or this mic, when it comes into existence, it has already emitted tons of carbon dioxide. So that comes as embodied carbon dioxide. But when I am using it over here, and if I don't account for the CO2 which actually is getting emitted because of this mic, then that is not a scope 3. It's only up to a scope 2. So for example, this campus of IIT Madras might be emitting some CO2 by burning electricity or some other fossil fuel. So we account for that, and that we call as scope 2.
Okay.
Scope 3 is like if some student is coming from 10 kilometers from away from the campus, so how he or she has come to this place. If he or she has cycled, then probably there is no CO2 emission. But if he or she has driven a car, then we'll have to account for the carbon dioxide which he or she has emitted. If there are 1,000 person who is coming every day in, then that 1,000 into that number of CO2 emission which has happened will have to be accounted for. That comes under scope 3.